Well, Republicans are heading into the final 5 days of the campaign with the wind at their backs. A new Quinnipiac poll shows voters now prefer Republican control of Congress by 4 points, 48 to 44. That's an 8-point swing from just August, when Democrats held the advantage 47 to 43. Who better to bring in to talk about it than Karl Rove, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff of Fox News contributor, and somebody who wrote this in the Wall Street Journal today. What to expect in the 2022 midterms. You said the midterms gravitational forces, inflation, the economy, crime, border security, Mr. Biden's approval rating, voters' feelings about the direction of the country is headed, all work to the Republicans' advantage. Now, Karl, do we need to have... For the Republicans that are looking at this saying, okay, great, good, everything's wrapped up, do they need to have a little bit of caution because some of these races are still super close?
Yeah, no, they better not sit on their hands. They got to push through to the end of the campaign because Democrats have a lot of good candidates and they've got a lot of money and they've got the power of the White House, but the Republicans should prevail in the race for the House, and I think the Senate as well, but only if they push hard in the remaining days. Lots of races are up for grabs, and lots of races are still undecided.
Okay, you tell us, Karl, what are you watching for on Tuesday night?
Well, I've got there are touch points. We begin with the closing of the polls in Indiana and Kentucky at 6 p.m. Now, there are no seriously contested races in these parts of the states that close. Only part of Kentucky and Indiana close. But I'm going to be looking at those congressional districts to compare the results from 2020 to 2022 results to find out how much of a swing there is against the Democrats, which we're likely to see in these races, because this swing is going to be very important throughout the entire night. If there's a 2 or 3 point swing against the Democrat performance in 2022, there'll be a certain number of losses. If it's a 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 point swing, there are going to be a lot more. So I'm going to be looking at that. Followed at 7 o'clock by Georgia and Virginia. Georgia, big Senate race, big governor's race. They're tied together. If Brian Kemp, the governor, wins re-election by a serious margin, then we're likely to see Herschel Walker doing better. And in Virginia, it's going to give us an indication what's going to happen in the House. There are three highly competitive races there. If the Republicans win one, it's going to be a good night. They win two, it's going to be a great night. If they win all three, watch out. It is going to be a slam dunk.
And Virginia counts quickly, too, so then off we'll go into the other hours. Why do you compare to 2020, which was a presidential year, and not 2018, which was a similar midterm?
Well, for two reasons. One is, you're right, 2018 is a midterm. This is a midterm as well. But midterms are a judgment, a referenda, if you will, on the incumbent party. And in 2018, the incumbent party were the Republicans. So the downward pressure that year, the people walking into the win were the Republicans. This year, the Democrats are in charge. They have the White House and the Congress, so the downward pressure is going to be on them. So if you go back to 2018, you're going to see not much change. You're going to see a lot of shift against the party in power, but it's going to be confusing with regard to the outcome of this election. So I'm looking at 2020 because that's the sort of baseline for this election. That's when the Democrats won the House races that they won. That's where we got a sort of sense of what the Democrat ceiling might be given the presidential vote. And so I'm going to be comparing to there to see how much risk the Democrats are in compared to the 2020 number that they received.
So, Karl, I know you look through a lot of numbers, but you also have strong sort of antenna. You're there in Las Vegas. There's a couple of big races there, especially the Senate race. What's your feel on the ground?
Well, talking to people, the locals, first of all, I was having lunch yesterday, and literally the midday news. I mean, I think I saw one commercial out of probably 40 or 50 commercials that ran during this program that was unconnected to the election. The rest of them were a steady stream of attacks by Republicans on Democrats and Democrats on Republicans, and a lot more Democrat ads than Republican ads, I might say. But on the ground, my sense is, talking to people, they think that the Republicans are going to take both the Senate seat and the governor's seat. And they also think the Republicans are going to take at least one, if not two, and maybe three of the state's congressional seats that are based in southern Nevada. Las Vegas has roughly slightly more than 2/3 of the state's population. So of the state's 4 congressional districts, one is in the north, based on Reno, with a lot of territory in the north, but the other 3 are located in the southern part of the state, and at least 2 of them are thought to be really contentious, with Republicans ahead in both, and another one is a toss-up. So this could be a very amazing night for Republicans in Nevada. Remember, Biden won this state by just over 2%. So this was a tight state. Wasn't as close as Georgia and Arizona and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, but it was pretty close.
See you in New York this weekend, Carl. Looking forward to
Great to have you.
catching up in person.
Thank you,
Carl.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.